Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 17 of Brawling Pit, where we talk everything about Brawl, a standard legal commander format. I am one of your hosts, Johnathan Tang. Joining me on the line is Jacob. Well, Matt, that sounds awfully familiar. Is it from Hearthstone? Oh, you don't? Okay. Okay then. I distinctly remember that you talked about Hearthstone in the last episode when we were talking about this card called Flame Strike. All right, I understand. Let's jump right into our topic today. Today, we're going to talk about building your deck around a theme or a gimmick. What do we mean by that? It means you're finding like a niche, kind of, or what Jacob would say, a meme to build around. So today we're going to present the deck that we have prepared for this episode, alongside with the different theories that we will talk about. Jacob, why don't you introduce our audience to the gimmick of this deck? Right. Well, yeah, that's pretty accurate. In fact, a lot of them do things. But in fact, there are 4 cards in standard right now that says you win the game. In that sequence on the card text, terms and conditions applies. But there are 4 of them. We're playing 3 of those. The reason why we had to cut the last one is because we just can't fit the critical mass of creatures into the deck. Right. Right. So what we did was we picked a meme to build around, and we decided to, hey, why don't we jam every single card in standard that says you win the game into a deck, and just go from there, right? So we have Revel in Riches. We're all familiar with that card. We talked about this card on multiple occasions during the show. 4 and a black for an enchantment that says whenever a creature an opponent control dies, creates a colorless treasure artifact token with what the treasure would say. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game, right? Plain and simple. That card. And we also have Mechanized Production. It is 2 blue for an enchantment aura that says enchant artifact you control. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted artifacts. Then, if you control 8 or more artifacts with the same name as one another, you win the game. Alright, that's the second one. The third one, Approach of the Second Sun, is 6 and a white for sorcery. If it was cast from your hand and you have cast another spell named Approach of the Second Sun this game, you win the game. Otherwise, you put it into 7 deep and you gain 7 life, right? Oh yeah, you board out, and then what you do is you use that tutor effect to tutor from your sideboard. Oh, I see. That's OP. I think that's pretty good, yeah. So we weren't there. There was actually a fourth card. We talked about that. There's a 4th card that talks about you win the game, and that's Liliana's contract. I'm gonna read the card text anyways. So give me just a second to look it up. Of course, I'll cut this part out. So Liliana's contract is 3 black for an enchantment that says when Liliana's contract enters the battlefield, you draw 4 cards and you lose 4 life. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 more demons with different names, you win the game. Now, the reason why this is a little bit difficult for us to pull off is because in this deck, there are obviously we don't have any demons. And to pull that off, we're going to have to put an arcane adaptation and name demons. And we feel that that's a little bit weak. So we just decided to cut this combo out. So what's left in this deck is 3 cards that says you win the game. To recap, Reverend Riches, Mechanized Production, and Approach. And obviously, Mechanized Production and Revel, they work well with each other. So, all you do is you have a treasure, you put Mechanized Production on one of the treasure, and then you just keep producing treasures turn after turn. And no, it's not. And this is where we talk about, the next thing about how to build around a gimmick, right? So we already have a gimmick. Right, it's a concept of redundancy, and we're going to, are you looking at the show notes? Let's slowly transition. Okay. Okay. So now, once we decided, to have this gimmick about building around you win the game cards. The next step is to decide, what kind of shell do you want for your deck? Like, what kind of archetype do you want this to fit into? And for our deck, because all of those you win the game cards are very, very slow, it's probably more appropriate for our deck to be kind of mid-rangey or even like just full control. And we decide to take the full control approach, which means we have a lot of counter spells, a lot of removals, and perfect in our Esper color identity. Oh, by the way, the reason why it's Esper is because that's what the colors of those you win the game cards are in, and Chromium gives us those colors. We don't really care about casting Chromium. Sometimes we will cast him. Right, so we always have the last win con that most decks will have, which is beat your opponent's face to the ground. And Chromium provides us with, the 7/7 giant beat stick that's really hard to get rid of, because all you need to do is discard a card and then they can't kill it. Right. And as we say, we're choosing to go with the control route. So to control the game means you're going to try to keep your opponents from killing you. So Chromium is a good Chromium and a couple of larger creatures in our deck. In fact, most creatures in our deck is large. They're a good deterrent of having our opponents hit us. Like, if you're playing a multiplayer format, they'll probably want to hit someone else first because your creatures are just so huge. Like most control decks, the creatures that we run they're like finisher type creatures. Azor, Nazahel, Scarab God, like those are game ending stuff. Champion of the Wits, that's more of a card draw engine, and Torrential Gearhole is just good utility. But things like Scarab God, yeah. Right. Right. Oh yeah, this is very much a draw go deck. And actually, on turn 5, slamming down Gilded Lotus is totally fine because a lot of your counter spells are 3-drop. So all you do is tap out on 5 and you cast your Gilded Lotus, hoping that it doesn't get countered. And if it doesn't, you have counter spell up. Well, but if it does get countered, well, they counter a thing that doesn't really matter. So let's put kind of look at the other side of the token, right? Like, if we are going with a faster, if we're building around a faster theme, obviously we'll be in aggro or like the low end mid range, and in those cases, like you will actually see more creatures rather than only like 5. There will be more creatures that are smaller, and they're insignificant by themselves, but they can be really fast. Like you can get them out really quickly, and they can just start turning sideways and attack. Right, and obviously we're trying to go super all in. So, oh, okay, let's not. right, but obviously, like, yeah, we don't want to jeopardize our win rates just to like go all in, but we want to go all in enough where we will win. Right. So, so the next thing we want to talk about is, all right. So now you have these couple of cards you want to build around, right? In our case, like all the you win the game cards. What are you gonna do? So you need to keep your game plan in mind. Our game plan is you win the game. So, which is why we chose combo. Which is why we chose the control shell. Which is why we have all those finishers creatures. So those finisher creatures are there to help us win the game, but it's also a giant threat that distracts them from our winning game plan. But to use our winning cards to win, well, there are some other cards that we need to add to the deck, and they will get us there. And Exactly. Exactly. So, we're going to talk about like different cards that goes with one of our win cons. But what you will notice is every single one of those cards don't need the win con there to be good. So, let's talk about Revel. So Revel requires your opponent's creatures to die, right? So we have three different board wipes. We're in board wipe colors. So Bontu's Last Reckoning, one black for sorcery that destroys all creatures and causes your lands to not untap. We also have Fumigate, destroy all creatures. You gain 1 life for each creature destroyed that way. And Cleansing Nova is 3 white for choose one, destroy all creatures, or destroy all artifacts and enchantments. So these three cards, they help us get to the 10 treasures threshold that the Revel is looking for. But right, when you're staring down at a board full of goblins, well, I don't care if you don't have Revels, it's still going to help you to not lose to those goblins. And which is why we have these three board wipes in there. It's just so happens that it works so well with our Revel and Riches game plan. And mechanized production, we also have some different artifacts that this thing can copy, and it becomes so good. But before we talk, yeah, for example, more treasures, like the treasures that you generate from Revel and Riches. Oh, you plot with mechanized production on it, and you're making more treasures, and they will need to remove 2 enchantments now rather than 1. Or here's the kicker: we have a couple of cards that works really well with mechanized production. One of them is called Power Stone Shard. So Power Stone. So Power Stone Shard is a 3 mana artifact that says add colorless for each artifact you control named Power Stone Shard. Keep in mind we're in a singleton format. So a lot of times, well, so you can, but a playset in our context is just 1. So all you have is 1 card called Power Stone Shard. But what you can do is if you enchant Power Stone Shard with mechanized production, you will start generating a lot of value if it's not answered. I mean, the worst case scenario is you cast mechanized production on Power Stone Shard, and then they blow up the shard in response, and that's sad. But that's hard because you're playing a deck filled with counter spells, so it's hard for them to answer. Like, and if it goes around, and you have 2 Parson Shard, now you're tapping for 4 mana instead of 1, and even if they get rid of the mechanized protection now, you have already generated a lot of value. Right. Sure. Sure. I'm going to talk about something that hits the multiplayer format a little bit more. In one-on-one, this deck is a little bit easier to play because you know your opponent's going at you. But in multiplayer, there are three other people, so your opponent has to choose which one is the more priority target. And sure, yeah. Right, exactly. Sure, but what I want to say is, and this is one topic that I think deserves one whole episode, so we'll probably come back to this in detail. But I want to say that it is totally okay for you to sandbag your answers. And what sandbagging means is you just hold on to your card and you don't cast it. I mean, yes, it will be a dead card in your hand if you sandbag it. However, keep in mind in this deck it makes a lot of sense because you are in Esper. Esper is known to play cards on your opponent's turn. So if you're holding up all your mana, people are going to be scared of playing stuff. And if they play into stuff, your other opponents are going to want to answer those stuff because that's the thing that's on the table right now. And once you feel that your opponents have spent enough mana and resources to get rid of your opponent's threats, now you can drop your threats because now there are less answers in each of their decks. Right. And on the same token, you can cast your Mechanized Protection right now on your treasure, but do you want to instead just not cast anything past turn and hold up your mana? Do you want to wait for a better artifact target before you cast your Mechanized Protection? What's going to happen is, yeah. Exactly. So, yeah. But I think we talked plenty about sandbagging. Let's get back to So we have Power Stone Shard that we just talked about. Gilded Lotus is also a good target for Mechanized Production. We also have Torrential Gearhulk, which is also an artifact, and it's pretty funny if you cast. Right. And one other thing we can talk about is actually an enchantment. But Metallurgic Summonings is 3 blue for an enchantment that says when you cast an instant or sorcery spell, creates an XX colorless construct artifact creature token, where X is that spell's convert mana cost. You can exile Metallurgic Summoning and return all instants and sorcery cards from your graveyard into your hand, but you can only activate it when you have 6 or more artifacts. 6 or more artifacts in this deck is actually pretty easy. Metallurgic Summoning creates those artifact creatures for you, and they're called constructs. Now, if you full mechanized production onto your constructs, all those tokens that are generated thereafter by metallurgic summoning will contribute to the mechanized production when you win the game plan. Right. Yeah. All you need on mechanized production is 8 or more artifacts of the same name. And right. And metallurgic summoning allows you to bring things back once you have 6. And it's 6 of any artifact. So the funny thing is, they can. Hello? Can you hear me? Oh. So the funny thing is, what you can do is. It's almost exactly as Jacob said. You just have enough constructs out, and then you just pass turn, right, with mana open, and they will try to remove one of those guys, and you can, in response, metallurgic summonings bring back all your spells, and then you counter it. And that will make one more thing. Oh, that won't. Never mind. Go into what you're saying. You want to do it as 7 constructs. You want to do it as 7 constructs. Right. Right, I agree. So it's probably the best if you cast it when you have 7 constructs, which means you will have enough counter spells to hold off until in your upkeep you make the 8th one to win the game. Now, the third card we have that wins us the game is, of course, Approach of the Second Sun. And the way to win with this is card draws. You want to draw into your approach as quickly as possible, and we do have a critical mass of card draws in this deck. First off, we have Glimmer of Genius. Is scry 2, draw 2 cards. Do you know how many that filters? It gets rid of 4 cards. So it allows you to peel into approach a lot faster. Right. Another card draw spell basically is Pull from Tomorrow, and it's X blue for you draw X card and discard a card. That pretty much gives you the approach if you have enough draw spells. If you have enough mana. Another thing is Supreme Will allows you to look at the top 4 and put 1 in your hand and the rest in the bottom of your library. Also gets you there. But one spell I really want to talk about with this stack, I think it's really funny, is Insidious Will. Now, Insidious Will is 2 blue for an instant that says choose 1. Counter target spell, you may choose 1 new target for target spell, or copy target instant sorcery spell. You may choose new target for this copy. Now, what you can do is, once you have enough critical mass of mana, you can cast Approach, and it does. Oh, is it? Hold on, does it say cast? Oh, that doesn't. You're right. Oops. Never mind. I'll cut that whole part out. Um, what I want you guys to be very careful though is if you have cast approach and you're in the approach plan, please don't cast Nexus of Fate. Do not do it. Just don't. No, it won't. What you can do is you cast Nexus first and you cast approach, but don't cast Nexus after you cast approach. Just don't do it. It's pretty bad. Now, so those are what. No, we're not going to talk about Insidious, bro. Should we? Yeah, I thought the fork. I actually thought the fork would work. Yeah, you're right. So, with the amounts of instant and sorcery we already have, so in our case, we're going to fill in enough cards, so we have to get to 59, right? But remember what we talked about when we were saying every single card in the deck has to contribute to your game plan. You need to keep your game plan, your winning strategy in mind when you're putting a card in. So every card needs to be useful. If you're looking at our deck, I think it's really difficult for one to point out a single card that doesn't belong. And I point one out right now. Why is it in the deck? Oh my gosh. I didn't get it, but okay. Teferi is good enough. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Karn is actually good with Metallurgic Summoning. Because those are constructs too. I think I'm okay with cutting Champion for Karn. Can we cut Champion for Karn? Oh man, I want Karn in this deck now. Cut Eldest Reborn for Karn. Enchantment. Okay. Do we cut Conjecture for Karn? We don't have anything we really want to fork. We can fork Nexus of Fate. Alright, I guess there's no room for Karn. Sad face. It's fine enough for Revels, and you're holding up mana for counter spells and instant speed shenanigans, so fine with it. Alright, what do we talk about? What do we talk about next? We don't have enough time. Content. We don't have enough content. I should have written more. Yeah, so we have demonstrated that in our control build how to build around a gimmick. But we can talk about the aggro and the combo as well. Especially with combo, if you're building around a combo gimmick. So for example, one the most impressive one that I saw was playing Joyra and Flux Reservoir, basically making your whole deck cheap, and then you keep casting and drawing artifacts. When you get to 150, you kill everyone. So that kind of thing, what you need to make sure is that you don't die. You need to ensure your survival. So it's lucky, it's a good coincidence that Flux just kind of keeps you alive by itself. But it's also easily disrupted. Yeah. But you will also need other things to keep you alive. So, if you in white, consider playing like Fumigate. Is a really good I don't die yet card. If you're in green, consider playing things that gives you a lot of creatures. Wow, I'm really bad at bullshitting. We're trying to fill content. We're trying to talk about what other archetypes can do when they're building around a gimmick. So if you're building an aggro gimmick, you want to make sure that your deck is fast and you have enough things to allow you to get under, like creatures can't block, things like that. It's called the storm count. It's called the storm scale. So a storm scale is a scale that Mario put into place to cut. Oh, okay. So a storm scale goes up to 10, where storm is at 10. Right. Right. I want to throw in an interesting factoid that the storm scale goes up to 11, and 11 is bands with other. we know that banding is not coming back to standard, guys. So, yeah, you're a terrible person, but I'm also terrible. I have a commander deck. I have a 5-color commander deck with most of banding creatures, and no one knows what the fuck is going on, and no one knows what is going on when they're playing against me. Yep. Let's not talk about banding though. It has nothing to do with our format. Yeah. Hopefully it never will. I quit Magic. I'm just kidding. I probably won't. But yeah, I hope it never happens. No, negate is there to help you not die. Like, right. Right. If they're trying to remove your mechanized production, that's when you cast negate. Negate is a card you send back. Right. Right. But I would almost always save your counter spells for their removals or their counter spells on one of your you win the game cards. I think that's when I would cast the counter spells. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's me. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. And yeah, and this is totally a topic that we'll come back to one day. Yeah. 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 You take whatever we say with a grain of salt because you are you and you play your deck. If you want to do it, go for it. It doesn't die anyways. Yo. Holy shit. We only have 44 minutes. Probably 4 of those are duds, so we're at 40 minutes. We need 20 minutes of content. Okay, what's the segue? Just talk about it now. Right, but in this deck it is going to end up being, your creatures are also demons. Right. Oh, absolutely. And in that deck, in the more mid-rangey build of this Esper deck, you will probably want more a more critical mass of creatures. So there are different demon lords. There are 3 different demon lords in our format right now. In fact, only the biggest one is not here, and that being Griselbrand. Mr. Griselbrand, I hope you don't come back to standard. But well, he's dead. So it'll be pretty difficult. But we do have. Oh, and we don't have the one from Origins. But we do have Ralzaketh and we have Balsanok. So those two. Absolutely. And there are other cards as well that you might want to consider. One of the cards that I will definitely add is Ravenous Chupacabra, because you have black, and it is a creature, and Noxious Skillhold. Noxious will also contribute to the mechanized production plan, which is just funny. But yeah, I mean, why not? Go for it. There are also there are also other different demons that are just good on by themselves. So Apocalypse Demon is 4 black for flying creature that is star flying creature that says its power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your graveyard, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you tap him unless you sacrifice a creature. Actually, let's not talk about that one. We'll cut this one out because this card sucks. Um, Noxious Gearhole is bad. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. What else did we talk about? You did. I was like, I think we have probably. Me too, but probably 6 minutes of those are duds. So we need 14 more minutes. Um, oh, actually, we can talk about how difficult it was for you to put this mana pool together. Would that be a good topic? Okay, so the last thing we want to talk about, finishing up around building your deck, of course, is and building around your gimmick is, of course, you need the right mana to support your deck. And turns out our deck is really hard for us to put that mana base together. Double white. Sure. So when you're looking at a deck, right? When you're looking at a deck list that doesn't have lands in it, Jacob, what's your first step to decide like how to put the mana base together? Is the first step like jam Evolving Wilds or? Oh yeah, we'll link that in the show notes. We'll link that in the show notes definitely. Right. Right. And yeah, on topic, another example is when you're, for example, building a hollow deck with like a bunch of kickers. Well, you can be red heavy, but if all your mana drops are if all your mana darks are low drops, you might want to consider an equal amount of forests and mountains in that deck. You're never gonna cast down turn two. Right. Right. Now, like, but you would very much love to have your 3 blue black on turn 5 to cast your Scarab God. For those of you who want to unzip and whip it out, what about unzip and whip it out? Yep. Man, that meme. The thing is, Scarab God looks like a dick. I'm cutting it. I'm cutting it. So, how? So within your mana, so within your mana base, how often do you take out colors and put in some colorless lands that gives you really good utility? So, for example, Reliquary Tower. Maybe not Joda. Yeah, I mean, if you're only playing Jessica in your Joda build, but why would you? Absolutely. Are you counting Memorial to Genius? Hmm. That's genius. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Uh huh. Wow. So when they're boarding in the answers for aggro, you convert it to mid range. Poor guy. Nice. Jeez. Yeah. Man, why did you tell the story now? It feels like this would be the perfect story for our sign off after the outro music. Whatever. Yeah, absolutely. I don't have a lot of so one example in Commander EDH. I have one deck that doesn't have any land that comes into the play tapped, and it's 4 color, and that's Infect. And because Infect is such a fast deck, you need your man base to be good. But that is very difficult to pull off in Brawl. I don't know where I was going with this. I'm gonna cut that out. Did you like how I slide in there are stuff after our outro music? All right. So what else can we talk about? I think that was pretty good. So that about covers everything we want to talk about in deck building or building around a gimmick in general. I hope you. Cool. I see. Oh, good. So that about wraps up everything we want to talk about building around a gimmick and deck building in general. I hope you liked our Chromium deck, and as always, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook at Brawling Pit. You can email us at brawlingpitmtg@gmail.com, or you can visit our website at brawlingpit.com. And I cannot believe that I never brought this up in the middle of the episode like I usually do. But as always, I've been Jonathan, and he's been Jacob. Thanks for listening. Oh, by the way, there's an outro. Hold on. I'm going to redo that whole thing. Are you here? Oh, okay. So that about wraps up everything we want to talk about. Deck building around a gimmick, a theme, and just deck building in general. And I hope you liked our Chromium deck. It's a really good deck that I enjoy, playtesting, and it's definitely something that I'll bring to Brawl Day. But as always, you can email us at brawlingpit. Oh, I fucked that up really hard. So as always, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at Brawling Pit. We're back on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube at Brawling Pit. Email us at brawlingpitmtg@gmail.com, or you can visit us on our website at brawlingpit.com. As always, I've been Jonathan, and he's been Jacob. Thanks for listening. Stay after the outro music. There are sign-offs. Do I keep that? Stay after the outro music? I can take that off. That's fine. That's easy to take off. Okay. How about you bring it up? How about you bring it up? I'll let you bring it up. Yeah. We've actually been doing this for a while. In fact, last week, let us know on any of our social media mediums. I cannot. I think that's the sign off. That's a good sign off. What's the sign off? I don't have any idea. Oh my gosh. I got finger ringed. that's so ring though. I have a sign off. So I don't know if you guys know, but if you have a service called Amazon Prime, Prime Day is coming up on. Oh, never mind. When the episode comes up, Prime Day is over. I don't have a sign off yet. But Magic products will be cheap too. I don't have a sign off. So you want that to be a sign off after we told them there are stuff after the outro? I okay. Okay. Ooh. What did they say? Oh, I haven't been looking at the responses. I checked the email for like business purposes, like, oh hey, your account is getting shut down soon, like that kind of thing. Yep. That was a joke. Are you gonna give it away? Like give the answer away? Another day. Or you mean week? We went over this last week in the sign off. If you want to you can definitely go back to episode 16. We did. No, we went over. We gave our listeners just 3 answers of the 4 that you were thinking of. And like after the show, when we were like conversing, you found out that what I was thinking was a different one. So there may be 5 or more. The M19 release weekend was great. I had a lot of fun. I did pull Nicol Bolas, and Deck Rix's deck just it was pretty overpowered. I went I went undefeated with it. I got targeted plenty of times because it's 1-on-1. So yes, I mm, nice. I think. Oh yeah, you break the game. Yep, yep. I think I will definitely play that in standard. Now that we talked about it, if I go back to standard, that's the deck I'll play. That's right. Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah, me too. Let's play the deck. Oh, of Nickel. I have 2. If you have 2, no, I literally opened them during the pre-release weekend. No, just Mr. Luxac. Well, I'm fat, so. Is that it? That's the. I'm gonna stop the recording and save it before I lose everything.